Welcome back to another part of our three-part sports series on rickettsia. We'll take you to the Dermacenter Arena to watch the Ricketts rock climbing competition. This video will cover Rickettsia rickettsii, which causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever. What better theme for a bug that causes Rocky Mountain spotted fever than a drawing about rock climbing? So let's get to it. Okay, so a lot of the information about Rickettsia rickettsii we've already covered in our tennis video. We'll add it here again, but I'll be really brief in my review. First, rickettsia are obligate intracellular, and as you can see, we're representing this by having the event take place inside an enclosed arena. Also, the crowd are dressed in white to reinforce the lack of gram staining. Do you remember what the best way to visualize rickettsia was? That's right, it was Giemsa. And at the bottom of the stadium, we'll have our coach holding the NAD plus energy drink to represent CoA and NAD+, which are necessary components for both growth and replication and are provided by the eukaryotic hosts. And lastly, we still see our ad for Ricketts tires to symbolize the treatment as doxycycline. Okay, now let's start talking about what makes rickettsia unique. First is its transmission. We're going to represent transmission in a pretty clever way. It's going to be with the same object rock climbers use to transmit themselves from the floor to the top of the rock climbing structure, through rock climbing holds. See these colored holds on the left? Well, we're adding some new ones on the right, and notice they look a little funny, like they're little rocks with legs. They're meant to look like ticks. Rickettsia rickettsii is spread by ticks, and if you want bonus points for the type of tick, it's a Dermacenter tick, which is distinctly different from the Ixodes tick in our Borrelia burgdorferi video. Luckily, Dermacenter sounds like a major sporting arena, doesn't it? So tonight's event is taking place inside the Dermacenter Arena, as denoted by this sign up here. Unlike Prowazeki, transmission is through direct biting. And just as a review, how does the transmission of Prowazeki differ? It's transmitted by the louse pooping on our skin, and then it gets scratched in and penetrates the skin. Okay, on to our climbers. The climbing wall represents the progression of the rash that develops with Rocky Mountain spotted fever. We'll represent the beginning stages of the rash near the floor, and as the climbers progress up the wall, we'll show the progression of the rash. The climber at the bottom with the coach has no rash to signify the rash not starting immediately. It has an incubation period ranging from 2 to 14 days. Let's add our first climber on the wall. Notice the rash is starting on his ankles and wrists, and as we add more climbers higher and higher up the wall, you see it slowly moves more centrally. The climber at the top is completely covered in spots, including his hands and feet, which is characteristic of later stage disease. And so that you really remember this, just think of the wall as being the source of the rash, and whatever is closest to the wall gets the rash first, which are the climber's limbs, and then later it'll spread centrally. Now, I bet you'll never forget it. Aside from having a pretty nasty full body rash, the climber on top is grabbing his head due to headache and sweating due to fever, and is extremely sore from the long climb and has severe muscle pains, which are all symptoms of Rocky Mountain spotted fever: headache, fever, and myalgias. These are obviously non-specific, so the real testable symptom is the rash, so definitely be able to recognize its progression. And since we've covered so much about rickettsia in our overview of the rickettsia family, we're actually all done with the Rickettsia rickettsii video. I hope you enjoyed the three-part sports series on rickettsias.